Felt Recall Podcast. This is number 32. My name is Chris, and across from me, my ever hetero life mate,
It's Patrick.
P-Mag Hulon. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. And yourself?
Got a letter in the mail today. Where'd that go that I handed you? Is that it? Can I have that? Come home to this.
I'm putting that on Instagram, by the way.
You listen to me, U.S. Post Office. I'll disappoint whoever the heck I please. Okay? I will disappoint anyone. If you're not aware, Recoil Magazine, which is a fantastic trade magazine.
No
for
relation.
The firearms industry. No relation. Maybe one day. They ran a special a while back where you could renew your subscription and then gift one to a couple of people if you felt like it. And it was legitimately something like 70% off. It was something crazy, stupid, cheap. So myself, Patrick, and our friend Brandon all got together and kind of split the cost. It was like $30 a piece for a year-long subscription. So I get a notice in the mail today, and on the front, and you can see this on our Instagram, it's we're at Felt Recall Show on Instagram. It just says, "Don't disappoint," big block black letters. "Don't disappoint," and then in a small square it says, "Don't disappoint," underlined, Patrick Hulon. And then it's got my name on it after that. I just find that to be super fun.
Got that right, buddy.
I'll disappoint whoever I please. I'm a grown man. Disappoint people all day, every day. Ask my wife. All right, lots coming up. We met a friend this week named Trey. So hello to Trey. He works at the bank, and he's a really nice guy. And I want to dive into that real quick. And then I'll talk about my crazy trip to grocery stores. This is how you know you're getting old. I wish I could just stay young. Plus, there's a new record kill shot on the books. Johnny Depp wants to assassinate Donald Trump. Just another day in Hollywood. SCOTUS, oh, that sounded healthy. SCOTUS has approved Trump's travel ban, and Congress has asked Ginsburg to recuse herself from all SCOTUS cases involving Donald Trump. And a DA in New York County says ISIS wants more Americans to have more guns, which makes no sense, but maybe you can explain it to me. All that, much more coming up on the Felt Recall Podcast. But first, our charity of choice for the week is hiddenwounds.org. Hidden Wounds is a nonprofit organization based out of Columbia, South Carolina, and their mission is to help heroes battle the invisible war at home, to provide peace of mind and comfort for military personnel suffering combat stress injuries such as PTSD and TBI and other psychological post-war challenges. They will provide interim and emergency psychological treatment for veterans and military personnel suffering from PTSD, TBI, and other psychological injuries by providing immediate and emergency treatment for the veterans. So please visit hiddenwounds.org and consider making a donation today. So I'm at work, and this is a very interesting thing that happens, and I promise it's not a brag. This might sound like a brag, but it's not meant to be a brag. That's my preface. But I'm at work, and I'm helping a gentleman look for some stuff, and there's another guy waiting. And so when I get done with guy A, I go over to guy B, and guy B turns out to be Trey. And Trey looks at me, and he says, "Hey, listen to your podcast.
You're a lot uglier than I thought you'd be."
Right? Yeah. And I said, "Oh, thanks." And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, "Is he like a friend of Patrick's or something?" And he goes,
"Who?"
Yeah. He's basically, "No, And I was like, "Oh." And it just kind of dawns on me that, hey, here's a guy we don't know that happens to listen to the podcast. That's weird, you know? And
it's not either of our moms.
Yeah. So then I just felt really awkward in front of him because I was like, oh. So I'm like, well, who does he know that I know that would tell him about? So he was looking for an optic, and we kind of talked optics for a second in the shop. And then I said, hey, I got to ask, man, like, how do you know about the podcast? And he said, I don't know. I stumbled across it. It's a lot of fun. Thanks. I was like, wow. Cool. Okay. Oh, I'm scared. And he leaves, and like I was scared because I don't know how to handle myself. But it was interesting because here we are in my house recording this in the office.
So tough behind the mic.
I know, right? I cowered. I ran away. I was like, are you a Democrat? And I ran in the other room. No.
Now he's going to challenge Trey to a duel from here in the home office.
As far as I know, I only know two other Treys in my life, Trey Gowdy and then Trey that we met met from Rugged while we were at the NRA show, who I happen to run into again this week. So they're all cool. So, I mean, trifecta, I guess. But
Hence Trey.
Yeah.
All
Perfect. Right. So I thought really neat to meet someone whom I've never met before, who just happened to stumble upon it. And, Jason from Virginia, kind of the same way. So it starts to feel like, man, I come here. I don't know about you, but to me, we come here every week, and this is just kind of something we do for ourselves. Maybe a couple of friends would listen. And I think ultimately we look at the stats of who downloads and how many downloads and where they're downloading from. Secretly,
we're convinced it's all lies.
Exactly right. Secretly, I've been thinking eventually Apple will call and they'll be like, hey, man, it's been a glitch. For some reason, iTunes has downloaded it 6 times an hour, every hour, and then also Stitcher just automatically downloads it. And they're gonna be like, yeah, well, we knew something was up. Okay, we get it. Something, it
we're
couldn't
not going
have
to
been
be
real. But now it kind of feels real. So that was cool. So Trey, very nice to meet you. Thank you. Thanks for saying hey.
Too, since we're on the subject, a buddy of mine I used to work with. I used to work in a ski shop, as many people know, and I had a lot of fun there. Nico is a guy I used to work with. He gave me a call earlier this week, and we chatted, had a little catch-up conversation. He seems to be doing well down in Columbia, getting ready to graduate from grad school. And he just called. We were chatting it up, and he said, hey, by the way, been listening to the show, and I enjoy it.
Cool.
And so that's cool, too. So we appreciate the love, guys.
Nico, my man, good luck. With what's he studying in grad school? Any idea?
I think he's doing a sports management, if I remember correctly.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I'm just a terrible friend and I forgot.
Yeah,
that seems about right, though.
Obviously, that's how you become a coach.
Right.
Get a master's in sports management.
I don't think that's how it works.
Oh, okay. Well,
we'll get him on the show. We'll find out.
Tomato, Hulon.
I don't think that's what he's going for.
Okay. So I had a couple of old man moments. We'll talk about those real fast. There's a grocery store called Lidl that has come to the upstate of South Carolina. It is German owned, and they have announced this big campaign to put locations all across the U.S. So I made a quick stop there last week. Yes, as you make your mocking Hitler gesture there. Yes, actually. That was my takeaway. Lidl, it does this amazing thing when you walk into a Lidl. You feel like you've been transported to Germany. It's very interesting because I always wondered what it must have been like to stand in bread lines, have hardly anything on the shelf, have every employee look completely miserable, and be surrounded by ne'er-do-wells that possibly are your neighbors but look like they just crawled out of a cave. And not out of a normal cave, like something scenic off of a beach, but the one in the middle, of, can I say possibly the Jews in hiding came out to go shopping? Maybe. I don't know. They looked like they hadn't seen the sun in a very long time. They were all scraggly faced. And then you're walking around Lidl. Everything is kind of canted on top of a pallet in its original box, so it's leaning left or right or maybe forward. Everything looks like it's about to fall over. There's zero selection of anything. And have you ever been in someone's home who refuses to throw anything away and it always smells like old cardboard? You know what I'm talking about? You ever been in that situation where you go in, you can just smell the musk?
I guess so.
That's Lidl. And you walk in and
Isn't it brand new? Didn't the building just open like a week ago?
Literally a week old.
And it already smells like that?
It smells terrible. Everything's in disarray. And then they do that thing where they don't bag your groceries. They don't offer bags for your groceries. And I say, hey, wait a second. Your prices are the same as Publix next door. You're not that much cheaper as far as I can tell. Where's my bag? Wait, I would understand if I walked in and the item I'm buying is normally $10 at Publix and it's maybe $5 here. Oh, they don't have bags. They've cut their prices in half. Hooray. But that's not the case. It's just a discombobulation of what seems to be stuff nobody really needs. You go in those stores, something like Dollar General. You go in Dollar General and buy things because it's $1. And you're like, I don't really need this, but hey, it's $1.
Your expectations are already pretty low at the dollar store.
They are low. Well, usually my expectations are high that I might get to use my gun that day. But I understand what you're saying. For product-wise, yes, expectations very, very low.
I took Lindsay to Aldi, which is similar to Lidl, I guess. It's a German
Is okay.
brand of grocery stores.
I've heard of it. I've never been inside.
I think it's the same because I haven't been to this Lidl place yet. Same kind of layout.
Just
When you walk in, they don't bag your groceries. Same deal. But Lindsay, I guess people at work were talking about it. She's like, well, I want to go check it out. All right, well, we'll check it out. We'll go, we'll take you. So we go over there and we kind of like did a lap. And as we
got scurvy.
We didn't really get anything. We might have got a couple small things. And then as we're leaving, she's like, well, so we did that.
Right. Why?
As in, we're never coming back here again.
Why do I have lice? Oh, we were in Aldi. Oh, yeah, my bad. This show is sponsored in part by Publix. I don't know. Can we segue? This has to be some money in this somewhere. So it's funny because I know
We wonder why people don't pay us.
right. We've been knocking on doors left and right. What's that? The same company that owns HK owns Lidl? Oh, well, that'll never happen. We had a very similar incident where, again, I'm proving to you that I'm old and boring. Married with 3 kids.
Yeah, we've met.
Right. So there's a new grocery store in Greer called Lowe's. Not the home improvement store, mind you. Lowe's food store. Their billboards, I'll give them credit. The billboards are brilliant. Billboards are all like plays on word, like a picture of a gourd and it says, oh, my gourd, a new grocery store. That's clever. I like that kind of stuff. It's funny. So the thing about it is they do all their meat fresh in-house. They smoke their own meats. They package their own sausages. And you can go, supposedly, and buy all these high-quality meats to throw on your grill. Well, I have a friend who just recently moved back to town from up in Virginia. And I had invited him over Sunday to cook on the grill I got for Father's Day. Again, I'm old now. And so he was coming over. We're going to throw
a tie.
That's right. We're going to throw some hot dogs on the grill for the kids, just kind of spend some time out in the sun on the back deck and blah, 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 right? So Saturday afternoon, my wife and I drop our kids with my parents and head off to Lowe's to see what all the hype is about. And it's 7:30.
All right, just stop right there.
Yes.
Now we know you're old.
That's what I'm saying.
You just wanted to go to a grocery store to see what the hype was about. Is that the premise of the story?
Need I not finish?
Because if it is, you can just stop now.
I guess that's the premise is, let me tell you how I'm getting old, but also let me tell you one of my biggest pet peeves. Maybe you experience this. I know we've talked about this. We have a sandwich shop near our work that does this exact same thing. And I have to refuse to go there anymore because it drives me crazy. But we go to Lowe's and it's 7:30 at night and the sign says they're open till midnight, but all internal spots, like anywhere, they have a fudge shop / coffee shop. They have a cheese shop. They have the sausage smokehouse place. They're all closed. And I don't mean like, oh, there's nobody actually working this spot right now. I mean closed. They've put wax paper over everything. You can't purchase anything at all. So again, prior to 7:30 on a Saturday night, and I have a cookout on Sunday, and I can't purchase any meat for the cookout from Lowe's. Huge pet peeve. Huge pet peeve.
So this is how you ended up at the German grocery store. Is that what you're going to
Lidl? No. That was a totally different experience.
Oh, that was a different one you went to go check out?
Got
to go see what's popping at the German grocery store.
Well, I passed Lidl on the way home every night, and we needed a small item, and I swung in to get it. And I thought, well, there's Lidl right there. Usually I would go to Publix, but Publix I have to take an extra turn, and I'm lazy. So I was like, well, you can pull right into Lidl, pull right back out, and be on the road home. No big deal.
Ride of the Valkyries plays as you drive past it.
Exactly, yes. But my pet peeve is if you're open till midnight and you have these what we'll call substations inside your store, why are they not open the same amount of time you are? You're open till midnight. The least you could do is have somebody there till 10. I can understand, well, we close at 10, the store closes at midnight. I'd almost get that. I don't get it at all, but I'd almost get that. The sandwich shop closes at 4 o'clock every day, but if you go in after 2, they're closed. They'll serve you, but they will let you know we're closed and we're kind of pissed that you're here. I literally, the last time I went there, about a week or so ago, I said, this just has to be my last time, because I've gotten to the point where the employees irritate me, because I'll walk in, I'll order an overpriced sandwich. They bring it to me. So I get my sandwich and I drink unsweet tea, right? And so I get a glass of tea with a couple of lemons in it, and I sit down. They bring the sandwich. I start eating. I kid you not. The guy walks up to my table, pulls a chair away from it while I'm sitting there eating. And this is a small table. This isn't like a big table. This is a table for maybe 2 people. He pulls the other chair away, faces it away from me, and then tapes a sign on my table that says, "Do not sit in this area. It's closed." So now I look like a jerk. For anybody else that walks in, there's now a sign on my table where I'm eating, making my mess, that says "Section closed for cleaning." So everybody that walks in obviously looks my direction and goes, "Look at that guy. He sat there anyway.
The rules don't apply to him.
He's a terrible person." And then I get done and I'm like, well, let me refill my drink that I overpaid for, which we all do. I don't care if you go to Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, that drink costs the joint probably a 20-cent max, and they're charging you $2.50 for it. So that's where they make their money, is in beverages. So I go back to get a refill. Tea's gone. Just gone. It's 2:30. The place closes at 4, but they're so busy cleaning. Man, we're just moving stuff. I said, you know what? I just got to stop coming here. It just makes me so mad. And so I felt that way in Lowe's, like, okay, just got to call it quits. Because then, of course, here's my problem with it. You can go to Publix, get the exact same thing, better service. Maybe you pay a premium, but I'm going to pay that premium every time so that I don't deal with the annoyances. Hence, don't go back to the sandwich shop. Maybe pay a different price and go somewhere that's open till 10 p.m., but will serve you and be friendly to you. So anyway, all that to say.
All that to say, you, sir, are officially old.
Very, very old. I do not deny it. And if you thought that was going to be in any way me denying any of that, you are wrong. I know I'm not. All right. Do you still have the article up about Dylan Roof?
I do.
Let's hear about what happened to Dylan Roof. If you don't remember, he walked into the United Methodist Church in Charleston and killed 9 innocent people, who, by the way, at the time, I don't think any of them were armed. And you could argue that they were legally unarmed, because the law in South Carolina is you can't carry a gun inside of a church unless you get the permission of the church.
That's right.
All right. So continue.
So I'm just going to jump right into this article. So this is from out of North Charleston. Dylan Roof and his appointed attorney have no plans to file charges against the inmate accused of raping and beating him Thursday morning as the accused church shooter went to the showers. So just pause there. Anybody shocked?
I am. He's not a good looking guy. He's kind of white trashy.
Too soon.
Yeah, that's one white trash looking dude. So, I mean,
according to Charleston County Sheriff Al Cannon, the assault happened shortly before 8 a.m. as Roof was being escorted to the showers in Housing Unit 1B. Cannon says the 2 detention center guards had moved away from Roof, one to take a break and the other to hand toilet paper to another inmate.
Right.
Which seems all too convenient.
Can we just play a little game here? What'd you say, Sheriff Cannon?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm going to be Sheriff Cannon. And you're going to be Patrick from the news. All right. And so here we are at my press conference. And you just let's just walk ourselves through this. OK, so, again, I'm Sheriff Cannon. You're Patrick from the news. And we're just going to walk our way through the explanation of Dylan Roof's rape inside of prison. OK, ready?
Yep.
So I'll give the rundown and you ask whatever questions a normal, not a CNN reporter, but like a legit, honest reporter would ask.
I got to leave Russia out of it.
No. You'll have to say, what influence did Russia have on this rape?
Got it.
But don't do that, because I want you to, again, don't be a CNN reporter. All right. So Patrick from the news, and I'm Sheriff Cannon. All right. Yeah. So thanks for coming to our rape press conference on Dylan Roof. Normally, rape is not a funny subject in the least, but I think we could all agree in this case we'll make an exception. Anyway, so here's basically what happened. Dylan was walking, and then I don't really remember after that. I know that, Jamiroquai was in stall B, and he was out of paper, and so I had instructed one of our guards to take him some paper. And then I just told the other guard, go ahead, go on break, get yourself a nice sandwich. And if you feel like taking a nap after that, that's something I've implemented. I want the guards to be well rested. And then I paid Brutus $30 and said, just keep Dylan company for me. Everybody else is on break. All right, so I'll go ahead and take any questions you may have at this time.
So
yes, Patrick from the news, please. Yeah. You're first. Everyone else, quiet, please. Everyone quiet. Yes, Patrick.
If I could.
Yes, sir.
So you told one of them to go on break?
Yes, sir. Just one of the guards to go on break. Brutus is an inmate that's been here for many, many years. We trust him, so I felt like he could be left with Dylan. Now, I do want to stress this is an alleged rape. Okay, we don't really have any proof that anything actually happened. It is Dylan's word against our word, and we all know he's a piece of filthy, filthy scum, and nobody cares what happens to him anyway. But you can choose to believe him or believe us. I did send one guard on break to answer your question. I sent one guard on break.
How far away did the other guard have to take that TP to the other inmate?
Oh, that's a great question. So, yeah, like I said, Jamiroquai was out of paper in stall B, and I sent the guard over there. And one of the things we don't like for our inmates to have to do is read the paper to themselves while they do their business. So I just instructed that guard to go ahead and read the Post Courier to him front and back twice, just to make sure it was well covered. Again, never in my life would I have thought Brutus would have done what he did. Now, Brutus is locked up for murdering his grandmother over a $20 loan that he couldn't pay back. But I thought in this case, he would be totally trustworthy. I still believe he is. Again, this is all allegations. This is an alleged event. So I would rather you guys in the media, ISIS will saw somebody's head off and you'll say ISIS allegedly decapitated this Christian. The least we could do is Brutus allegedly raped Dylan Roof. Okay? Allegedly raped him. And again, bowl cuts went out in the 90s and Dylan still got one. And so I just don't think there was any sexual attraction there. I could be wrong. But again, allegedly, from what I've heard in the halls, Brutus isn't into that. Okay.
Is this just something you didn't see coming?
I would have never imagined that a spoiled young white man would murder 9 innocent black people and then have a tough life in prison. I would have never, ever imagined. I would have thought if anybody's going to fit in here, it's someone that viciously murders innocent black old people. I would have thought no problems for him. None. So, yeah, you're right, Patrick from the news. None of us could have seen this coming. Nobody could have. So I would say let's not worry about it. Let's just agree to move on. Any other questions?
That's all I got.
All right. I do want to add, allegedly, Dylan did ask to be called Dorothy the whole time. All right. Thanks for coming. All right. Maybe it makes us terrible people for having zero empathy or sympathy for a guy like that being brutalized. But I have none. It's like, Jeffrey Dahmer, the way he met his end. Can't feel bad for him. I kind of appreciate the poetic justice that he died with his head bashed into a toilet because he caused so many people so much pain. I think people like Ted Bundy got off easy. You get the electric chair, a lethal injection. The state controls the way you die, but you viciously murdered so many people. And so no, I have no sympathy, no empathy for Dylan Roof, and whatever happens to him, I'm just not too worried about it. He can't get as much as he deserves. It cannot happen.
No, and I think he'll probably live a very long, painful life. I think this is the first of many.
Painful for sure.
Because I don't think that they wanted. This guy didn't want to kill him. It actually says in the article that Dylan didn't fight back, but this guy basically beat the snot out of him beforehand. So I got a feeling if he wanted him dead, it probably would have been pretty easy, but I don't think he does. I think he wants him to live with it.
I wish Sheriff Cannon would have said in his press conference that they just caught them cuddling, and so there's no hard evidence of anything bad having happened.
Yeah, the 15 stitches he received to his rear end probably had nothing to do with that. I failed to mention that in the article.
Oh man,
I don't know how he would have gotten those cuddling.
Brutal. Yikes. You never know. Maybe his shiv slipped out of his pocket. Maybe Brutus and Dylan were cuddling, and Brutus's shiv slipped out of his pocket. You just don't know. You just don't know.
Are you confusing a pocket for a prison wallet?
I don't know what a prison wallet is. Don't tell me. Oh, now I'm putting it together. I don't know how you could do that. I recently tried to take back up on some mountain biking. You were there, and nah, I got no room for that.
Moving on.
All right.
I'm not so good at the segues.
Prison wall.
So I'm just going to put a stop to this.
Hey, you know who else? Here's how you segue. You know who else can't get as much as he deserves? Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp would like for someone to assassinate President Trump. And I got to tell you.
Pirates of the Caribbean? Because I feel like that's just his name now.
Jack Sparrow. You know, here's the thing. We get so worked up about it, but I do wonder how many people agree with us that he's a piece of trash but went and saw that movie. Because we do this weird thing with celebrities where it's like, well, we recognize that they're so disconnected from reality that they can't possibly be held accountable for their actions. Hey, he's Johnny Depp. Look at him. He used to be good looking. He now looks like he does meth in the morning to wake up a little bit. Like, he really looks haggard. He looks beaten and abused. Maybe he's hitting the bottle Jack Sparrow style. I know, didn't his wife recently leave him? I mean, I think he's had some personal struggles.
I saw him on there talking about this crap, and I thought it was Steven Tyler for a second. That guy's like 90. So
I could see that. I could see that. I would think Keith Richards if we're going to go that route. But yeah, I see what you're saying. He looks old and beaten up. Johnny Depp, according to the AP, asked a crowd at the Glastonbury or Glastonbury?
I think there's a T in there.
Glastonbury Festival. There is a T in there, but you know how the British are. Cowards. At the Glastonbury Festival, when was the last time an actor assassinated a president? He then said, been a while, and maybe it's time. 54-year-old Pirates of the Caribbean star says he's not an actor, but someone who lies for a living. Actor John Wilkes Booth assassinated President Abraham Lincoln in 1865. Depp was at the festival to introduce a screening of his 2004 film, The Libertine. He played Trump last year in a Funny or Die video parody of the businessman's 1987 book, The Art of the Deal. So here's the thing. You could do what everybody would do here and go, huh, can you imagine? Can you imagine if Kelsey Grammer would have said, when's the last time an actor assassinated a president while Obama was in office? Because we know Kelsey Grammer is a conservative thinker. And they would have gone crazy. He'd never work again. And that's true. Look at Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson obviously has a problem with the alcohol. Okay? Got drunk, got himself arrested, said a lot of things when he was drunk. He probably doesn't actually mean, but things that probably make him mad in real life. Okay, very anti-Semitic remarks. And to me, being anti-Semitic is kind of equivalent to being the black lady on Tucker Carlson last week that lost her job, who just blames everything on racism. You know, if you're just blaming all the world's problems on the Jews, it's just because you're not smart enough to have a better answer. If you're blaming all your problems on white people, you're just not smart enough to have a better answer. You're just not. So there's a difference, though, between having a substance abuse problem where you say something that maybe you mean, maybe you don't, and then actively calling for the death of a president. The problem I have here, outside of the tired old analogy of we couldn't have ever gotten away with this under Obama, is the fact that you have people who agree with Johnny Depp, who are listening to Johnny Depp, who are out there shooting Republican members of Congress. Now, let me say this. When's the last time somebody assassinated a stupid actor for calling for the assassination of the President of the United States? You wouldn't do the world a favor by killing President Trump right now, because you'd probably have a civil war. But if there was a loudmouth actor that got offed because somebody said, we can't have sedition running amok, it's not going to affect the world all that negatively speaking. People like Johnny Depp live in these bubbles where they're guarded by armed security, where they say what they want to say, and then they think they're impervious to the law. I know he's French now, right? He basically lives in France. I don't know if he pays taxes to America. He probably does. So it's obvious he doesn't.
It makes him smarter because he lives over there now.
I would say he probably agrees.
Much more cultured.
That's probably the problem. Look at France. Look at where that's getting you. What does the culture of France get you these days outside of your head cut off in the middle of the street while everybody watches? You can be in uniform, a soldier in their military, in the middle of the street in France. Or was that in the UK? Remember the soldier got beheaded in the middle of the street?
I don't remember that.
You don't. Now I have to look it up.
Well, you look that up while I'm going to make this point.
Please do.
So he brought up the fact that the last time an actor assassinated a president was John Wilkes Booth, of course, killing Abraham Lincoln. And the funny part about that is that was a Democrat killing a Republican president. So you see I think he was going for shock value and just making the comparison, but I don't think he actually thought it through.
Well, you know, I had heard once in a college setting that John Wilkes Booth was the Brad Pitt of his time. That you couldn't get much more famous as an actor than John Wilkes Booth was at the time he murdered President Lincoln.
He had like 40 adopted kids?
Yep. Couldn't be faithful to a woman? Weird. December 19th, 2013, from NBCnews.com, 2 radicalized British Muslims have described themselves as soldiers of Allah, have been convicted of hacking a soldier to death on a street in broad daylight. They killed Lee Rigby with a car. They hit him with a car, and then attacked his unconscious body with knives and a meat cleaver, trying to behead him. If you remember, and maybe you've never seen it, there's actually video of this guy with a meat cleaver in hand, covered in blood, talking to a woman on camera and saying, "This is for Allah. This, Islam is coming. This is Islam. Islam is here." So that's what I was confusing there. Either way, innocent people are being slaughtered all over Europe. Forgive me. What's the Muhammad cartoon publication?
Charlie Hebdo.
Thank you. Yep. I have an original copy of that somewhere around this house that I bought off of eBay after they published the picture of Muhammad and people, Muslims attacked and killed them. That's what that culture gets you. So the question for Johnny Depp is that what you want? That's terrorism. You're advocating terrorism, right? Where people who disagree with a certain viewpoint bust down walls, break into office buildings, hack people to death, drive them over them with their cars. Johnny Depp is, by no stretch of the imagination, but cut and dry, is advocating terrorism inside the United States. And you look at the other story on our rundown, you have a Manhattan prosecutor, Cy Vance, said in an interview Sunday, this is from thehill.com, that the GOP plan that would allow qualified gun owners to carry concealed handguns in other states that allow individuals to carry concealed firearms. So the plan is this. If you have a CWP in South Carolina, you can go to any other state that has laws on the books allowing concealed carry and be legally carrying your firearm simply with your home state's concealed weapon permit. Cy Vance says, if that bill passes, I believe the safety and the greater safety we have achieved will be at risk. It would be completely legal for a person to bring a loaded gun or guns in New York as long as it was legal to possess them in the person's home state, he continued. A guy from Idaho, where there's no permitting requirement whatsoever, could carry his gun into Times Square loaded. The district attorney warned lawmakers that they were, quote, playing into the hands of ISIS and other terrorists.
Dum, dum, dum.
Pointing to ISIS publications describing the ease of buying guns in some American states. Quote, the bill is supported, I'm sure, by ISIS. ISIS points its readers to America and how they can easily obtain guns by going to states where there are no permitting requirements. So ISIS is paying close attention to this bill as well.
Frankly, I'd travel more if they did this.
Right. Cy Vance and Johnny Depp are both on the side of terrorism. Cy Vance with this perverse view where somehow, and I don't know how you get away with that logic. So terrorists want more Americans to be armed in more places across the fruited plain. That's how his logic works, right? He is saying ISIS wants more Americans to have more legally owned firearms in more locations. They're excited about that. How does that make any sense whatsoever? What he thinks is happening is that everyone will get a free gun no matter who they are because he's an idiot, and that's the way he interprets this, right?
So from 1940s in Japan not wanting to attack mainland U.S. because General Yamamoto's famous quote, "Behind every blade of grass will be a rifle," suddenly now that is no longer the case.
No. Now,
we have more guns in circulation in the U.S. population than ever before. There's, I think I heard somewhere the other day, just over one for every adult in the U.S. over the age of 18 currently.
Easily.
Is a lot.
Yeah.
So
there's more than 300 million guns in the U.S. right now.
So suddenly that's no longer the case.
I mean, what I think
do you think ISIS wants gunfights? They want shootouts.
No, obviously not. Obviously not.
Clearly not.
Because they only attack when people are basically what I would call placid. They're inattentive. They're in a festival environment where their attention is focused on something, but they're not actively looking for problems.
And not to be cliche, but gun-free zones.
Absolutely.
San Bernardino.
Every time.
The recruiting stations in Tennessee, which those guys were legally armed, but I think that the guys that attacked those places were under the impression that they weren't.
Remember, in Fort Hood, Nadal Hassan was only stopped at killing 13 people because there was someone on base allowed to carry a firearm. One of a few people who came and shot him and killed him. Imagine if everybody would have been walking around with a gun. I think it's safe to imagine he wouldn't have even tried it. Wouldn't have even tried. I think what Cy Vance is saying is just like in North Carolina, our neighbor directly to the north of us, he wants everybody to have to go get permitted to even buy a gun, which is so contrary to the Second Amendment, it makes your stomach hurt. But North Carolina,
I was just going to say.
You go get a pistol permit just to shop. And I think that's what he's confusing here, is that in some states, you have to be allowed to even shop for a gun. In South Carolina, you don't. Just, by being a resident of the state, you can walk in and pass a federal background check and take a gun home. And that's really the way it should be, minus the federal background check to me, but whatever, so what? So my point here is you got a guy like Cy Vance who doesn't understand the law, but thinks terrorists want more Americans to have more guns. And then you have a guy like Johnny Depp who says we should have terrorism in the United States because someone should assassinate the president of the United States. It's not a joke. It's not a laughing matter because it's actually happening right now. Like imagine if I were to say, I hope a jihadist gets a hold of Johnny Depp and chops his head off, because then he'll learn how wrong he was. Well, Chris, that's a terrible thing to say. Of course it is. It'd be a terrible, terrible thing to say. Nobody wants that for Johnny Depp. That's exactly what Johnny Depp is saying about Donald Trump. I
hope a terrorist gets a hold of him and gives him a haircut.
Right, exactly. Shave that stupid patch of fur off of his face. I don't understand the guys with the single patch of fur down their chin. I can't.
The soul patch?
I can't do it. I can't. What are you, 12? This is the first time you've seen hair on your face? Come on. Shave it or don't, All right. Anyway, I think what I'm getting fed up with is we as a collective conservative thinkers always having to be the nice guys. We always have to be the people that measure our words, or we literally get crucified in public. You'll get crucified. Look at they try to do that to Chick-fil-A by saying, well, I believe in the biblical definition of marriage. Oh, okay. Can't do business with Chick-fil-A because men can't have sex with men. He said so. So don't do business with Chick-fil-A. Anybody who thinks conservatively has to always be on guard because they will literally crucify you. And now we know they'll just make it up if they can. CNN, Russia, all that. They'll just make it up and then they'll spread it about you. What an unbelievable world. So I would encourage you to stay out of the theaters if Johnny Depp is involved. You have to take it that seriously. You have to understand that if you go and see his movie, as much as you might like Pirates of the Caribbean 5, 6, 7, 8, wherever we are now, as much as you might really want to see the continuation of the story, even though it's the same story every time, as much as that might appeal to you, you have an obligation to stay out of that theater, because otherwise you're putting money in the pocket of a man who hopes the president of the United States is assassinated. Cut and dry. You have to stay out of the theater. I know we just talked about me being old. I'm not trying to be crotchety. I just think we have a moral obligation to it. I'm not saying don't go to the movies as a habit. Just support people who either A, leave their politics at home, or B, maybe agree with what you agree with. I'll go to X-Men movies because they usually have Kelsey Grammer in them. You know, I know he agrees with me. You can look up other actors like that and support their work. That's all I'm saying. Okay? All right. I hate Johnny Depp so much. Okay. Let's see. Do you have the Canadian sniper story?
I sure do.
Will you share that with us? Longest kill shot.
So we just talked about that, what, 2 weeks ago maybe?
Was this the Chi-Tech or?
Chi-Tech.
Chi-Tech, sorry.
We talked about them just a few episodes back and how they secured the longest kill shot in combat, but that has already been overtaken.
Uh-oh.
This time by Canadian Special Forces. And I believe when we were talking about Chi-Tech, we were talking about just over a mile and a half, 1.54 miles, if I remember correctly. And that shot is now just completely been blown out of the water. This one was made by a Canadian firing a Macmillan TAC 50, and the kill shot was made at 2.14 miles away.
Jeez.
Which is absolutely insane.
That's 11,319 feet.
Right, what he said. Previous record was made by 338 Lapua.
1.54 miles.
1.54 miles, yep.
Yeah. 10 seconds. Is that right? 10 seconds travel time on the projectile.
Yeah, he had to lob that thing in there, man.
You could literally pull the trigger, take a bite of an apple, and go back to looking through your scope, and then watch it knock the dude over.
Just reach down, look at your watch.
Yeah, I'm right now.
So, what I find interesting about this is that
he was Canadian.
He was Canadian. Exactly. That's where I was going. How'd you know?
How did he do it from on top of the horse?
And these are like the most, well, I should say, the least aggressive people in the world.
Right.
They're like so friendly. They don't lock their doors, you know.
They're all high on weed.
That is true. And they're not really a gun culture. So I find it a little interesting.
Yeah.
But so the even more interesting part to me about it is if you look at the top 5 longest kill shots in combat on record right now, 3 of the top 5 are Canadians. And you got 1 Brit, and bringing up the rear in 5th place from back in 2004 is one of the good guys.
I guess it goes to prove that good people can live in bad places, meaning Canadians.
Right.
That's pretty staggering. Canadian sniper killing an ISIS fighter from 2.14 miles. What does this say? What kind of optic he was using? How do you even see 2.14 miles away, and with any sort of accuracy to be comfortable pulling the trigger?
Let's see. I don't see where it says anything about that. Let's see.
They're all focused on the caliber of the rifle. A TAC 50 rifle from a tower block in Iraq. It said he was 10 feet high. Special Forces sniper fired a TAC 50 rifle from the elevated position. He had to take into account the wind, distance, bullet velocity, and the curvature of the earth. The bullet took less than 10 seconds to reach its target. Yeah, that's about all it says. And just so you know, the longest record sniper kills, the one just mentioned from Iraq, 11,319 feet. After that was in Afghanistan at 8,120 feet. Before that, 2002 in Afghanistan, 7,972 feet. And in 2002 in Afghanistan, 7,579 feet. And then in 2004 in Iraq, 7,546 feet. All of those, by the way, are more than a mile and a half, if my math is correct. 5,280 feet in a mile. Take half of that, you'd be at about 77. All right, so all of those at least close to a mile and a half, if not more. That is insane. Absolutely insane. But good for us. I mean, to know we can kill the bad guys from 2 miles away, I like that idea. All right, here's a fun one. And put this in the folder of things that probably won't happen. but should. Okay. From the Washington Examiner, Republican lawmakers want Ruth Bader Ginsburg to recuse herself from any Trump cases. 58 House Republicans have signed a letter calling for Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg to recuse herself from the upcoming travel ban case due to her comments about President Trump during the election. In the letter, the congressman called for Ginsburg to recuse herself in the case International Refugee Assistance Project versus Trump. The case centers on President Trump's travel ban, which seeks to restrict refugee settlement in the U.S. as well as prohibit travel to the U.S. from 7 Muslim-majority countries. The congressman argued Ginsburg's previous public comments about Trump, which included calling him a faker and saying he has an ego, merited her recusal from the case. The letter itself, by the way, is pretty stunning because in it, they basically tell her she's required by law. So the letter reads this way. Dear Madam Justice, we write to request that you recuse yourself from participation in... Oh, I just lost it. Speaking of being old, I tried to zoom in because of my eyes. From participation in Trump versus International Refugee Assistance Project. As an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court, you're required to recuse yourself in cases in which your, quote, impartiality might reasonably be questioned and where you have, quote, a personal bias or prejudice concerning a party. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit rested its decision in International Refugee Assistance Project versus Trump on President Trump's campaign statements. The case places the personal credibility of President Trump directly at issue, given your repeated public criticism of both candidate and President Trump. The statute is triggered, and your recusal in Trump versus International Refugee is required by law. Signed by Ron DeSantis, Brian Bond, Don Bacon, Jack Bergman, Andy Biggs, on and on it goes. I was trying to see if Jeff Duncan. We got to get Jeff Duncan on the show, man. Cool dude. So there it is. And that's actually where I saw it, was on his Twitter page. Just a cool dude there. So,
probably not going to happen.
Should happen, but probably won't. Yeah, it's kind of crazy, isn't it? I mean, it's the fact that Elena Kagan sits on the Supreme Court and was able to hear the Obamacare case, even though, by the way, she's the one who argued for Obamacare in front of the Supreme Court. So it's not going to happen. Wish it would, but it probably won't. All right, I do have one gripe, and then we'll wrap it up. I just want to ask a question. Maybe you can explain this to me. Why am I constantly seeing pictures of guns in driver's seats on Instagram?
Because people are idiots.
What is happening where you're like, hey, you know what I'm going to do? Get a picture of my Glock 19 while I'm at this red light. And then you pull it out, lay it on your lap, and take a picture. Can we just agree as a collective to knock that off? That would be awesome.
We should start a campaign.
Okay. Did I miss anything, Hulon? Did we cover it all?
We missed the travel ban. We didn't talk about that. I think that was on the rundown.
Lay it on me. You got it pulled up?
I do.
They did approve the travel ban. That's right.
Yep. So SCOTUS sided with Trump on this bad boy. And it's got everybody whipped up into a frenzy. So much so that we've forgotten about Russia.
Right?
Wait, no, that's not what happened.
Well, you know what, though? You've been making the case all week that nobody's talking about that. So maybe we need to, in case you don't know.
Sure, yeah. Well, and so I found out, I guess, I saw a video from Project Veritas with a producer from CNN where he was outed on hidden camera, referring to the whole Trump-Russia scenario as BS.
Yeah.
And basically explaining that it is purely an agenda that is being pushed by the brass at CNN.
Yeah, Jeff Zucker, the CEO.
Right. And he in the video, he mentions multiple times that they've been instructed to push the agenda and that the agenda is fake. And he explains his personal feelings and says that he thinks it's BS from the top.
He basically says there's no evidence of anything. And then we now know, in connection with that, we know that the dossier that supposedly linked a Trump associate to the Russian investment firm was all part of a group hired by Hillary Clinton. So there's no impartiality involved, and there's a lot of lying and a lot of misinformation out there, and CNN ran with it for ratings, even though they knew better.
Well, it's all they kept calling it, collusion with Russia and all this and that, when in fact it's all backdoor. It's all Hillary. It's all CNN. I would assume, and I'm not saying this just to make the comment, but I would assume the DNC was well aware of Hillary's plan and what was going on, and I'm sure that the links between CNN and the DNC are where this whole thing got legs. That's the only thing that makes sense to me.
I have an anonymous source that tells me Jeff Zucker, the CEO of CNN, is the inmate that raped Dylan Roof.
I could see that.
I don't know if you've heard that, but our anonymous source...
He seems like a cuddler.
Our anonymous source has a dossier that has a list of things Jeff Zucker finds attractive, and bowl cuts is at the top. Again, anonymous source. I can't verify for security reasons, but that's what we're hearing. All right. Fox Business says the U.S. Supreme Court has handed a victory to President Trump by allowing the temporary ban on travelers from 6 Muslim-majority countries and all refugees to go into effect for people with no strong ties to the U.S. Now, there's some important stuff in here, so pay attention to this. The legal battle will continue, by the way. The March 6th order called for a 90-day ban on travelers from Libya, Iran, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, Yemen, and a 120-day ban on all refugees to enable the government to implement stronger vetting procedures. It was blocked by federal judges. Both bans are now due to partly go into effect. Even before SCOTUS took action, the ban applied only to new visa applicants and not people who already had visas or are U.S. permanent residents. The executive order also made waivers available for foreign nationals seeking to enter the U.S. to resume work or study. Remember the girl in Iran who said she was in school and couldn't get home because of it? Liar, liar, liar. It also allowed a waiver if you wanted to visit a spouse, child, or parent who was a U.S. citizen or for significant business or professional obligations. Refugees in transit and already approved would have been able to travel to the U.S. under the order.
So who does that actually exclude then? That excludes people from 7 Muslim majority countries who have no ties to the U.S. They're not here for work. They're not here for school. They don't already have family here. So it's a simple vetting process. Then what are you doing here?
Right.
That's all. It's just a question.
Why would you like to come to the United States?
And I don't have a problem with them coming here.
And we know
if we can vet them.
Yeah.
I don't see what the big deal is. I don't see why it's so offensive to ask the question.
Well, because you're a racist.
Right. Why? I know that because I hang out with you.
We've gone full circle. Here's the other part of it. We know that guys that are carrying out bombings in Europe and attacks in Europe right now have trained in both Syria and Yemen. Those are 2 training hotspots for Islamists, and those countries are both on the list. So why worry about saying, okay, if you've never been in the U.S. before and you have no strong ties, you're not here for work, you're not here for school, you're not here visiting family, why are you here? There's nothing. I mean, again, what could the problem be?
If you flipped it around and you said, okay, well, instead of Muslim, let's say it was Buddhists who were committing heinous acts of terror across the world.
Yes.
And we decided, okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to vet those folks, and we're going to make sure that people from Buddhist majority countries are not allowed to enter the United States without some sort of background check.
Right.
Would we still have the problem that we have?
Probably not, because there's only one. I don't know. India. I can't think of another one, but I'm sure they're out there. Singapore, maybe.
I'm just making the point.
Right. Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
The Democrats want to give them a pass because because they feel like, well, we're just being racist against the Muslims. RASSIS, racist.
Well, here's the other part of it. When you're a leftist thinker these days, there's no principle. There's only your feelings. The left never acts on facts. They always act on feelings. And it's much easier to wait for the other side to have a plan of action and oppose it than it is to come up with something on your own when you have no principle on which to stand. And so that's what they tend to do. Oh, you want to ban Muslims? Well, why are you so against Islam? Oh, I don't know. Maybe because the guy that started it raped little girls and killed Jews for fun. I mean, maybe that's a reason. Oh, okay with your racism. Slow down now. No. No, it's all documented in their holy textbooks, by the way, that he had sex with a 9-year-old girl and then he beheaded Jews. It's all documented in their literature. Well, wait. Not all that literature can be verified. Then it's all bogus. If some of it is arguable, then it's all arguable. You can't take the Quran at face value and tell me that the things inside of the Quran, some of them are arguable because there's 19 different translations of the Quran. It doesn't work that way. But it's so much easier when someone else has dug their nose in and studied a subject and you haven't, and they want to have a conversation about it. It's much easier to just label them a bigot or a racist or whatever the case may be and simply oppose them because you have no leg to stand on. It's absolutely mind-boggling. People are dying. People are dying because we won't allow things like this to happen. People are dying because people like Johnny Depp are out there telling some people to kill other people. People are dying. It's not a game anymore. It's real life, and people are dead because of it. Johnny Depp should be ashamed. The left should be ashamed. And quite frankly, we're going to reach a time where we're done playing games and we go into action, and everybody's going to act like we're the bad guys because we take action before they, you know, the thing I've always said about the Islamists of the world is as long as we can kill them before they can kill us, we'll be all right. That's got to be our goal. Kill them before they kill us. And again, the left and the people on the left have constantly said, well, that makes you a bigot and a racist. And now those same people are going, but we should kill Donald Trump. We should rid the world of people that believe and want to follow Donald Trump. But we should let the Islamists live too and let them come here. So maybe they are on the same side. It's becoming easier to make the argument. Maybe these people love terrorism. They love the Islamist agenda where one government rules them all and there's a mandated religion inside of the government. And when you think about it that way, it actually makes a lot of sense because Islam not being a religion, it's actually a government. And inside of the government is the mandated religion of Islam, the Quran being the constitution. Well, then that aligns pretty well with the idea of the left where the government takes care of everybody, tells everybody exactly how to live, exactly what to do, how to build their houses, the kind of music they can listen to, the type of art and literature they can read and enjoy. That's all Islam. It's all Islam. And it requires the killing of those who don't agree with you. And we know people like Bernie Sanders have advocated for, you know, these camps that would re-educate people with whom they don't agree. I said Bernie Sanders. That's not right. I'm sorry. What's the Obama guy's name? His friend that blew up the buildings. The professor. Help me out.
Oh, I'm drawing a blank too. I know you're talking
Bill Ayers.
Bill Ayers. There you go.
Bill Ayers advocated.
Yes.
Bill Ayers advocated killing those with whom he disagreed. We know these things are true. So it actually, the more you think about it, the better the point becomes that the Islamist terrorist agenda is the same as the left's. One big government, the caliphate, to rule them all. And one set of rules for everyone. And for those who disagree, we kill them. What a positive note to end things on. I'd welcome you to disagree if you want to. KRIS@feltrecoilshow.com. I'd love to read it. Tell me why I'm wrong. Make sure you find us at feltrecoilshow.com as well. By the way, most episodes are now available on YouTube. So if you've missed an episode of the podcast, you want to go back and listen to one, find us on YouTube, youtube.com/feltrecoilshow. A lot of office spaces these days are blocking websites that play podcasts like SoundCloud and all that. That's blocked at our office, but YouTube is not. So just put us on in the background, give it a listen. And we're sorry if you get in trouble for it. Okay. Don't forget hiddenwounds.org. Don't forget to find us on the Instagram and all the other socials. We'll see you next week right back here for more of the Felt Recoil podcast. Bye, Trey. Miss you.